Google. Seems like everybody's been talking about this strange new up-and-coming AI startup. Some are even saying that this company is already failing and will never make it. Of course, we're talking about Google parent company Alphabet and not just a small startup and new player in the AI space. No, we're talking about one of the most dominant player on this planet when it comes to advertising, when it comes to artificial intelligence as well. Now, we've been talking about Google for quite a while, sometimes critical, sometimes less critical, but of course, a lot of the critical stuff is of their own doing, right? It started already when ChatGPT got released. The fact that now that we're talking about chatbots, LLMs, and we directly link it to OpenAI's ChatGPT is already a missed opportunity for Google. Because now, if we want to look for something on the internet, the first thing that comes to mind, Google it. If you go on vacation, first thing that comes to mind, usually Airbnb, right? Streaming, Netflix, and so on and so forth. So they already missed the mark on that launch. Then they were playing catch up. We've talked about that, the $100 billion opportunity that I made a video about when they made that presentation of BART, completely failed, $100 billion lost in company value. Great opportunity to buy and enter the stock, because obviously the market overreacted. But, by the way, side note, already this year, since the highs of this year, Apple stock already lost more than $300 billion in value. Yet nobody talks about that. I wonder why. Anyways, going back to Google, failed BART presentation, fake BART presentation, and then Gemini making up historical facts as it goes. Of course, now that's paused, the image generation is paused, they're working on a fix. They made an apology, so-called apology, a memo, an email that sent out by Sundar. In my opinion, that email didn't really address the core issues. I still think he's going to get fired, remains to be seen what happens. But yeah, there needs to be quite a lot of changes inside and around that company. But, so far the core business, everything is still running very, very smoothly. And this is the point I want to make in the video. Despite all the noise, despite everything that we've been hearing and seeing, Google as a whole is still quite a very, very dominant and profitable company. And I do still think that it will stay quite dominant for years and years. Now, I want to start off with showing you the difference between Google, Alphabet, and Microsoft, Meta Platforms, and Apple, valuation-wise. You can clearly see forward PE, price to free cash flow, that's in the last 12 months, and then the PEG ratio, price earnings to growth ratio. You can clearly see here Google is the cheapest of the bunch, Microsoft the most expensive one, and even compared to its own 5-year mean, Google is cheaper now than before. Makes completely no sense to me that this is a company that is currently trading 19.5 times forward PE. Over the last couple of years, it has bought back 10% of its shares. Free cash flow per share has also increased quite a lot and is expected to increase quite a lot in the next coming years as well. So even if, let's say, even if this company somehow doesn't manage to grow its core business anymore as fast as before, 10% of the shares outstanding have been bought back in the last 5 years. You can expect obviously more buybacks in the future, and who knows, maybe they'll make a meta move and start issuing a dividend. Remains to be seen. But of course, there is a reason why other companies such as Microsoft and Meta get a bit of a higher premium from the market, because the market expects them to grow faster than the others, plus a bit less risk going forward, because, well, Google's revenue, right, bread and butter comes from Google advertising, right? As you can see right here, Google advertising, $65.5 billion generated last quarter, total revenue, $86 billion. So quite literally, the majority of its revenue comes from Google advertising. All of its profits come from Google services. You can see here $26.73 billion. It's actually more than total income from operations. That's because, well, Alphabet level activities plus other bets, still a money losing segments. But Google Cloud, also something that apparently a lot of people forget about. Google Cloud is growing fast and becoming more and more profitable. Of course, still small compared to Azure and AWS. But overall, are you really going to bet against this type of business? I don't think that's a smart move. Now, I'll make the point in this video and in the next part as well. Before we do so, if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, we really appreciate that. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. So, going back to the topic I mentioned in the other video about Alphabet. If you missed that, it's going to be in the top right corner. But basically, there are fears that, well, moving forward, people will use chatbots more and more, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, things like that more and more. And so Google's core business will take a hit. Google itself, if it wants to make the switch to maybe a more focused Gemini, let's say, that will lead to less people using search, less people getting exposure to the blue links, right? The highly monetizable blue links, and more towards direct answers. By the way, okay, that's fair point, but have you tried it out? Have you tried Google Search, Gemini, ChatGPT, and Perplexity? Which one do you prefer most? Tell me really objectively down in the comments below. I tried it all out. One, Perplexity isn't free, doesn't really give you the best of the best answers out there. Second of all, Google Search. Google Search already today, if you ask it a question, the first thing you see isn't blue links. It's already part of the answer. So to say that they'll have to completely switch their business model and lose billions and billions of dollars, to me, isn't painting the full picture. Because right now, if you put in a question, right, you already get a box of text. And then underneath that, yes, you have a link, then probably some frequently asked questions as well, and then some more links. So the way you already get the answers have been changed in the last couple of years. So in my opinion, if more and more people use, let's say, chatbots and stuff like that, I think they already figured it out how it's going to work. Plus, I still use Google Search for the majority of my searches. I'm not gonna lie, I'm using ChatGPT. More recently, I'm using actually Gemini more and more because, well, I don't have to pay for it and it's connected to Google, connected to Google Docs, Gmail, stuff like that. Way better, which by the way is also a great selling point because it's connected to the whole Google suite. Don't forget that. Anyways, moving forward, we know that right now Google is paying billions and billions, right, in traffic acquisition costs, meaning they're paying other companies to drive traffic to their own websites, right? Each and every quarter, right now we've seen $12, $13 billion a quarter, plus they're also paying billions and billions to Samsung and Apple, which by the way, apparently in the EU, there is one more extra screen during the iPhone onboarding, which basically asks you to choose your default browser. I don't know why people are crying about that. It's basically 5 extra seconds where you choose your default browser that you're going to use on a daily basis. But okay, people like to cry about a lot of stuff recently, so fine. But I wrote this is basically one more reason for Google to stop paying Apple $20 billion to be the default search engine on Apple devices. $20 billion that goes straight to the bottom line and $20 billion that Apple now needs to find as well. Going back to the information, the data and all of that. Because if you're going to use chatbots more and more, of course that chatbot needs to answer based on the data that it gets. Now, since you're getting an answer on your question and not 10 blue links, where does that data come from? Is it verifiable data? Is it good data, bad data, outdated data? Lots of questions. And so, more recently, we've seen some headlines like this. Google is paying publishers to test an unreleased Gen AI platform. In exchange for a 5-figure sum, publishers must use the tool to publish 3 stories a day, basically giving them also quite a lot of feedback on maybe, I don't know, the results that they get, the questions, the answers, etc., etc. But this is another way for Google to train its own AI, give it more and more data, see how that will work in the future. So bigger news here is Google brings Stack Overflow knowledge base to Gemini for Google Cloud. Stack Overflow is basically like a Quora for programmers. And so it was announced that developer Q&A site Stack Overflow is launching a new program today that will give AI companies access to its knowledge base through a new API, aptly named Overflow API. The launch partner for this is Google, which will use Stack Overflow's data to enrich Gemini for Google Cloud and provide validated Stack Overflow answers in the Google Cloud console. Meanwhile, Stack Overflow will work with Google to bring more AI-powered features to its platform, a process it already started last year with the launch of Overflow AI. The article here continues by saying it's no secret that content-driven services like Stack Overflow, but also Reddit, publishing houses, etc., want to ensure that they get paid when large language models ingest their data. While Google and Stack Overflow aren't discussing the financial terms of this partnership, it's worth noting that this is not an exclusive partnership. I do believe that Reddit has a same deal in place, maybe not with Google, but probably with some others out there. It makes sense to not make it exclusive, because why would you make it exclusive if you can sell the same data to a lot of those companies? It makes sense. But again, this is the right move. This is the next traffic acquisition cost. Makes even more sense. And by the way, Google itself has a lot of data. Every time you go on Google Chrome and you search something, they know it. They've got the data. No other browser in the world has as much data as Google Chrome. But of course, at the end of the day, it's all about leadership and it's all about execution, which, to be honest, has been lacking more recently. Maybe there will be a change in leadership at Alphabet. Who knows? I don't know. Those are the speculations right now on the street. But I do also think that, well, Google can be way more efficient. They still didn't do a Meta or whatever another company has done in recent years, the year of efficiency. Right now, yeah, they made some cost cuts here and there, but I do think they can clean the house way more. Now, switching to something else here is another announcement that went under the radar because of the Gemini disaster, is that Google unveils Genie AI, which can create video games from text and image prompts. Yes, you heard it correctly. So Genie, introduced as an innovative platform capable of crafting interactive 2D video games from a single image prompt or text description, marks a significant leap forward in the realm of artificial intelligence, which is basically these types of things that you're seeing right now on the screen. Images, still images, and then moving ones as well. It doesn't even stop there. You can create sketches and that suddenly turns into a game. Same with real world images as well. But of course, again, with the horrible Gemini image generation saga, there is some skepticism around that as well. But this shows you yet again that Google is still the leader or one of the leaders out there when it comes to AI, generative AI, these types of things, despite them not being in the spotlight each and every day. I called OpenAI the AI marketing firm that is acquired by Microsoft to pump up their own valuation. They're every day in the news, every day Sam Altman is out there speaking, every day there's a new announcement. At the end of the day, you have to look past all of that, past all the noise, past all the BS, and actually look at the facts. Facts are Google is the dominant player when it comes to search. Facts are Google owns the two most dominant search products on this planet, Google Search and YouTube. By the way, YouTube, huge potential for the future as well. I mean, you can clearly see I may be biased right now, but there is huge potential. There's a huge disconnect between what's actually happening and the noise. And by the way, before I leave you for this part and moving to part number 2, this came out. Microsoft researcher says AI tool creates violent sexual images. So according to this person here, Jones, reported his filings internally in December, but Microsoft referred him to OpenAI, creator of the AI tool DALL-E 3, used for the Copilot designer image generator. When he did not hear back from OpenAI, Jones posted on LinkedIn and asked the startup to take down DALL-E 3. He was then told by Microsoft legal department to remove his post immediately, which he did. He then wrote a letter to US senators and met with staffers of the Senate's Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation. I guess this isn't just a Google issue after all. Shouldn't Microsoft and OpenAI get the same criticism as Google? I think that's a fair question to ask, right? Anyways, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.